I think recovery is essential. I didn't know who I was when I was using, you know. And now, as a woman, I know who I am, you know, where I came from. I don't forget any of the things that happened to me that I participated in willingly or unwillingly from my past. I think it's essential that I had to go through all those things to get the understanding that I have now.
Many people come in here are lost everything. Like I mentioned, they've lost their land, their heritage, their culture, their families. Some have been brought up in homes not of the same race as theirs.
We have that path set out ahead of us, and we start our journey from the time we're born on the road. And what we say is we have diversions off the road. We call it the red road, off the red road, which would be your dysfunction, your drinking, your alcohol, all these things that are negatives in your life are kind of off that. And the positive thing is being on the red road and recovering.
We believe the path to recovery is within all women. Every person's path to recovery is unique. To find it, one must accept oneself as an individual and as a member of a family, a community, and a culture. The Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center began and grew by recognizing that chemically dependent Indian women needed to come to terms with their own culture and keep custody of their children in order to heal themselves.
There's nothing spectacular about our therapies here or the methods we use for counseling. They're basically counseling practices that are taught in social work settings all over the country. The unique thing about it is the incorporation of Indian cultural teachings.
Terry Pitka's mother was Indian and died when Terry was young. Her non-Indian father raised her in several large cities and shared little about her native background.
I think it was real important that we find out where we come from. A lot of Indians don't know what tribe they were from. It's kind of like you're missing a big chunk of your soul, you know, and you go around feeling empty and really confused. And that's real shameful, you know, that shame reinforcement.
Terry became a heavy user of drugs and alcohol. When she began to break her addiction, she met an Indian counselor who did some research and traced Terry's roots to Nikolai, her home village in Alaska.
When we called up there and I found out that I had 200 relatives in one village alone, and that I had an older brother and an older sister, and that these were my family members, and this is what they accomplished, and this is who they were, and this is what they did, you know. It was really important. It meant a lot. It gave me identity. It gave me roots to say, this is who I am, and this is where I'm from, you know, and this is what I'm about.
Staff at the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, MIWRC, understands such culturally sensitive issues. Most are Indian women who have been through treatment and serve as successful role models for those they now help.
We can work with our clients because we know where they're coming from. They can identify their grief, how to handle it, how they're going to look at it, and move on and make choices on their own.
Most women who come to the center grew up in foster homes, separated from families that were affected by alcoholism. Now their own children are in out-of-home placement resulting from their chemical use.
So I think we are really working with second generation kinds of difficulties that have been compounded. And if we don't bring a stop, if we don't help women to strengthen their lives, I'm afraid we're going to see this carried on now into further generations.
MIWRC staff and clients work together to identify needs and develop programs which are responsive to them. The 4 current programs are chemical dependency treatment, child care and parenting skills, family reunification, and a professional training program. MIWRC's approach is grounded in Indian values of non-judging acceptance and respect for the autonomy of the individual.
I firmly believe that we can only guide them and give them suggestions. And they all work hard when they're in here to find out what they want and what they themselves are about, because a lot of them are so confused about that.
And I knew that when I got into the Indian Women's Resource Center that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick and tired of using. Because when I went in, I was 25 years old, but I felt like I was 55. You know, I felt incredibly old. I had a lot of ailments that I wasn't even aware of, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And everything just came to a head. And I knew that I was really sick of living the lifestyle that I was living before. And I wanted something different. I wanted something better. Because deep down in my heart, I knew I deserved something better, you know. So.
A woman's first step at MIWRC is an assessment of her chemical use. Appropriate treatment is then recommended to the county. MIWRC offers outpatient services to avoid separating mothers from their children. Clients start the healing process with the chemical dependency treatment program.
I think that in any treatment program, spirituality has to be the foundation of recovery.
They need to know that they have that spirituality within them. Nobody can give that to them. They've already got it.
Our own perception of what spirituality is okay, you know. I can look at a tree, I can look at a rock, I can look at a stream and find spirituality in those things, knowing that the Creator put them there. Those kind of things bring me spirituality, bring me serenity and peace. And that's the power base.
This strength helps women take 2 more steps toward recovery, using the 2 medicines.
The 2 medicines are something that everyone has within them too, and that's the ability to share and the ability to laugh.
In our stress management group, part of it is relaxation. The other part of it is we play games and we just laugh.
I guess the groups are mostly what helped me to do that and be able to share. Because I would always say pass, you know, and never. But then my counselor would ask me questions, and after I start getting it out of me, I realized that that's what I needed, was to be able to express myself and stuff. So.
See, I always kept to myself all the time. I never really talked to anybody before. But coming to this program, I really can relate to other people, trust them, start to trust them. You know, so I really found out who I was and where I'm going.
It's pretty hard to ask a woman to start to deal with trust issues if she's worried about what she's going to feed her kids for supper that night. We can't pay their bills, we can't feed their children, but we can teach them how to deal with the stress they get from those type of problems.
You know,
Instead of adding to the shame many Indian women feel over not fitting into mainstream society, counselors identify and teach social skills.
Instead of them focusing on all the things they did while they were using, we have them focus on the things they did during those periods of sobriety. What was it that kept them sober?
The program guides women towards fulfilling their own dreams.
One of the clients said, I could see myself and the man I live with taking our baby to the park on Saturday, and maybe someday getting a car. See, it's not things that are way off the wall. It's just things that can really happen that they want in their life.
The first part of the dream is staying sober and completing the treatment program. Most women finish in 10 weeks and are honored with a graduation ceremony.
Keep coming back.
When I walked in the door at 10 o'clock for group, they told me you're graduating today. Yeah. So it was really a surprise, and I don't know, I thought it was great.
And hopefully you come to this program and find out, maybe touch a little bit about what those gifts are and what those talents that you have within yourself.
I told my counselor I never thought I'd get through with it, but now that I did, you know, it's such a big change for me. I see a big change in my home and my family. I really like it. I mean, I'm glad to be sober. My sister Jeannie was there. I've seen her about 3 or 4 times my whole life, and she showed up today. Her and her husband, he quit drinking for about 7 years. I felt happy just seeing them sitting there. They showed up and gave me support.
I didn't want to leave the program, you know, graduating and stuff. Part of me wanted to, and part of me didn't want to leave. But I know I have to, because I have to continue my journey.
When people come out of treatment with that, they kind of become a fish out of water, and all of a sudden they're thrown back into the realities that they left with little or no support.
Recovery is much more than the absence of drugs or alcohol. It involves reestablishing the connections and responsibilities of the family system. Delina Davis's concern for her unborn child convinced her to overcome her chemical dependency.
I knew that I was carrying a child, and at the time that I couldn't have a beer, and I couldn't smoke a joint. And because I was carrying this child and I had to take care of it.
MIWRC supports women in assuming their roles as mothers. Growing up in multiple foster homes does not provide clients with consistent parent role models. The children's program helps mothers by teaching the skills they need to nurture their children.
There were some things that I didn't know, and you know, I used to, when she would cry, you know, all my emotions would come out on me, and I would feel like I wanted to cry. And since I came into this program, I felt more at ease. You know, I could talk with her and I understand why she was crying. And I thought that I'm going to be screaming and hollering for the rest of my days till they're grown up, and you know, they're still not going to listen, and it isn't like that anymore.
The on-site childcare MIWRC provides makes it possible for mothers to attend its programs. Yet, the children's program is much more than a babysitting service.
Just basically providing knowledge to Indian women about cultural child-rearing practices empowers them even more as women to be able to take a look about their own values, their own cultural values, and to be able to identify with them.
One goal of the children's program is to help clients become conscious of the influence of Indian culture on their own child-rearing practices. Understanding the background for what they do helps women take pride in their mothering and defend their actions when mainstream social service workers misinterpret or condemn cultural differences.
It wasn't wrong for our older siblings to help with younger babies and younger brothers and sisters. And so much of the time when that happens today, The system looks at that as neglect. But in most tribes, that was a practice with their children, and that's how we taught developmental skills.
The children of chemically dependent women need help just as much, if not more, than their parents to adjust to a sober home life.
We underestimate children a great deal. We think that children can survive anything. Just because they don't have the experience to express to you what they don't like, and they don't have the experience and language to explain and describe what they saw and what their fears are. We need to empower children and give them those skills of how to deal with their emotions and their feelings about what's happening in their lives.
Every December, the children's program hosts a party. Arrangements are made for all the mothers' children, including their kids in foster care, to come and have fun together.
All right.
Minnesota has the nation's highest rate for out-of-home placement of Indian children. The family-based program helps Indian families deal with the social service system. The advocates work to reunite women and their children and to keep custody of those children in the home.
I mean, we get the county reports. We've tried every service available known to mankind, and this family is still failing. We bring the family in and we turn that around immediately. We say, well, you know, we were told you're a failure. How do you feel about it? Well, I don't think I'm a failure. And then we say, you're absolutely right. The system has failed you. They have tried every method that they have to help you, and it's not working. They failed you. Why? Okay. And we kind of give them back the power that they need to make decisions where they don't feel so helpless, like, you have to do this, you're going to do this, or, you know, your kids are never coming home. Or, and we kind of point out what they need to do legally, they need to do to meet the requirements of the county social services. And we kind of have the individual planning here and the flexibility to design the program with them.
After going through several other drug and alcohol programs, Wanda Sheltrack graduated from the MIWRC treatment phase and has maintained sobriety for over 2 years. She also succeeded in regaining custody of her daughters Valerie and Carrie. After these victories, Wanda went on to get her GED and her first job outside the home.
Because they were goals I had set, and being sober was the big one, you know, to get my daughter back. And for myself, because I want to further my education. I know there are things I can do now.
Family advocates teach clients living and coping skills and are available 24 hours a day for emergencies.
We have a system set up where when the children are returned, that we talk with the kids and tell them, you call us if Mom's in a bad mood and you need to talk or you're scared. You call us. We'll help you. And they do call. Because learning to live again in a sober life with one another, that's hard. We've never done it before.
What I'm doing now is kind of putting together computer statistics. And the families that have made it and that are succeeding have had contact with Native American spirituality, culture, and history, and getting in touch with their own identity. That's the part that the social service systems can't give them outside of an Indian agency.
We believe that in order to see long-term change, that we cannot work just with the individual, but we must work with the larger social service support system.
MIWRC service programs began when the staff realized that some of the special needs of Indian women were not being met elsewhere. Now the training arm shares information through workshops, seminars, and a library.
We hold these talking circles, these conferences. It's like we get that much more strength from each other just by doing that and by sharing. And we try to focus more on the non-Indian agencies that work with Indian people and invite them to come. And they have come in the past.
I went to that seminar very early on when I started that job. It had a tremendous effect on me, both I think professionally and personally. It has helped me to not be a judging person. And I really never thought I was judgmental, but I mean just non-judging as far as accepting people's backgrounds, their culture, being able to take a person at face value and not expect them to behave in a certain way that could very well be cultural.
The library supplies information on Indian women and chemical dependency, both to the staff of the agency and to other professionals. It also provides curricula developed by MIWRC.
Perhaps we're not generating so much new knowledge as rediscovering old knowledge at times, and the Cherish the Children curriculum. It asks people to look at their childhoods, at their own childhoods, and what can they identify about how they themselves were parented.
Before we even get into any kind of issue, say adult children of alcoholics, we talk about the history of Indian people, what happened to Indian people. Because for providers, they need to understand, as well as the clients need to understand what happened to them so that they don't get into blaming themselves.
What's so wonderful about helping people gain access to information and about increasing that information about ourselves out there is that the more of us that are sober and the more of us that are trying to understand and rediscover these things within ourselves, then the greater that pool of knowledge becomes and the larger the picture becomes of understanding ourselves too, because no one person can do it all by themselves, because it's a whole way of life that we're understanding here, a whole way of life that was suppressed and was said to be primitive and shameful.
Terry Pitka is in her 5th year of recovery. She went back to school and worked as an office manager in a chemical dependency project for youth.
I like the youth because I don't have any children of my own, so it's kind of like they became my children in a way, you know. And I'd say about 75% of them are Native American, and it's kind of inspiring for them because they see you know, they see people like me making it, and they think, gee, you know, I'd like to do that. You know, it gives them, it's a diversion from drugs and alcohol.
Terry had the opportunity to visit her family in Alaska and decided to return there to live. Delina Davis has been sober for more than 3 years. She is now the mother of 2 girls, Sage and Lavender, and works as an administrator at Honeywell. Delina reflects on the progress she's made and the contributions she now makes at MIWRC.
And after you sober up, then these issues are there for you. And it's not only being sober that's a way of life, but you have to clean up all the mess that you've created. And you have to take care of yourself and learn a new way of life. And you have to go back and undo all those things and learn how to live a different way. I am an alcoholic, and I went through a treatment center, and now I sit on the board of directors.
Wanda Sheltrack is continuing her education and has a job at Kateri, a residence for Indian women in treatment. Small and large steps towards recovery are honored several times a year as MIWRC gives a feast for the community.
We want our people to learn the old ways and the ways they're living now, and the fact that they can come together and interweave in such a way that they do not lose any part. We try to help them walk back comfortably. We help them through these feasts. The feast time is nice, saying to the community, look at what we've done. It's not a person that is elevated in success, it's the community. It's a fine time of sharing.
Working with one woman at a time, the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center aims to be a catalyst for the health of the entire Minnesota Indian community.
I think as a recovering addict alcoholic, I think it's real important that we deal with a lot of the issues that we're going through, you know. And there's some pain involved, no doubt. But the richness and the serenity and the peace and the acceptance of self that we get in the end is tremendous.
We're recovering from oppression, we're recovering from religious domination, religious oppression, we're recovering from alcoholism, we're recovering from economic poverty, we're recovering from low self-esteem, we're recovering from stereotypes, we're recovering from whatever you want to name, you know. Then there's that path that's there. We can get out of it. We can walk that road and we can find our path and we can move on and become what we need to be in life. And that path is there for everybody.
I'm a jingle dress dancer, and the way that you jingle dress dance is that you zigzag back and forth, and that's because that you live your life in a zigzag pattern. You never live it in a straight line, because you falter here and then you get back on the right road and then you falter a little bit, and that's, you know, kind of like what my life is like. But I feel like although I do them things, I'm on the road to sobriety, and all the things that I've done in my life has led me where I am today, and that I just continue to go forward, and that's my path.